Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming to our annual College Information Night. Just a show of hands, who is going through this for the very first time with their with a child? All right, most. Okay, so everybody else, they've gone through it once? All right, okay. I'm Mr. Robinson. I'm the guidance director here at the high school. I have a freshman in college and a 10th grader, so I'm kind of right there in the middle of it all with you all, so I feel your excitement/pain through all this. I know it can be a stressful time, but it's also exciting time. So tonight, our department is here to give as much information as we can in a short amount of time to kind of lay the land out for you, answer some questions, and give you the basics of what you need to know. After this, we will be open. We have question and answers tonight, but also once you see the counselors, they are a huge resource from now until when your child goes to college or trades or military, whatever it may be. But so tonight I just want to introduce the four counselors first before we get started. So we have Mr. Robertson. We have, no claps, man, I don't know. Mrs. Healy. Oh, look at that. Yeah, showing you up. Mrs. Leahy. And Mrs. Quinton. All right. We have an awesome department here. So tonight, I just want to go over real quick before we get going. Things we're going to cover tonight, the basics of the college search process, the factors that colleges consider most when they are looking at your child's application, the responsibilities of the student versus the counselor. So that's always kind of what are the students supposed to do, what is my guidance counselor supposed to do for me. We'll talk about that. We'll cover a little bit about financial aid and scholarships. That's always super important. Then, because there's so many things to worry about and it can get stressful, we'd like to kind of just lay out a timeline so you don't have to do every single thing all at once or you feel like you're getting behind. If we have a kind of a calendar for your junior year spring into the summer and then your senior year fall, so we'll go over a brief timeline for things so you can stay on track. And then at the last part, we'll just have some resources that you can use. We also will share this slideshow out. We'll send it home, so you will get you can take as many notes as you want, but we will share this slideshow out. All right. All right. Then let's get started. I think we have Mrs. Healy up first. All right. So you want me to do this? You take the mic.
Okay. Yes, thank you. That would help. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming to College Information Night. So we met with the junior class a couple weeks ago. All the counselors met with their caseloads, and what we went over was to start with the college search. How do I determine which colleges fit me? Well, obviously the majors would be the most important thing, to make sure the major that you're thinking of is at the college that you're applying to. Now, a lot of you might say, well, I'm not sure what I'm going to major in. You know, it's totally normal to not know what you want to major in, and in that case, we would suggest maybe applying to a bigger school or a university that has a lot of different majors, so you can get a taste for all different types of classes to help you narrow down the major. Another thing to look at is our research, internship, and networking opportunities, which you can find directly on the school's website. The cost and financial aid opportunity is very, very important, and that can be found on the college website under financial aid on most of the school websites. Another thing to consider is the setting. Does the student want to be in an urban setting, a suburban setting, or a rural? So do they want to step out of their dorm and be in downtown Boston or New York City, or step out and be in rural Vermont, step out into a farm? I mean, setting is very important. So is the size of the school. Do they want to be a big fish in a small pond or a small fish in a big pond? I always say to my students, do you want it to be like Wakefield High, under 900 students, where you walk around and you see the same kids every day? And some kids do. They want that feeling of, hi Mary, hi Joe, I know everybody, the professors know you really well. Or they want to be in a large university like a UMass Amherst, 25,000 kids, the size of Wakefield, and be more anonymous. Or something in the middle. You know, so these are all factors to consider. Also, do they have study abroad programs? Residential experience, the food. I always say, make sure when you go on these admissions tours, which I'll get to in a second, make sure you go into the dorms and talk to the kids that are in the dorms as well, because the kids that aren't affiliated with admissions are going to tell you the real deal, because no college is perfect, and the kids that are not affiliated with admissions are going to tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly. Which you really need to hear to make an educated decision. And also that shows demonstrated interest, which we'll talk about in a few minutes as well. Demonstrated interest means how many times do they go visit the school? How many times do they email the school? Come down here to guidance when the colleges come here to see our kids. Anytime a student makes connections with the college, they put it in their system. And when it comes time to admit or reject you, demonstrated interest is important at most colleges. Next page. The next thing is the college list. So I was telling my students, if you have a hard time putting together a list, you go right on your Naviance account. All of the juniors and seniors and sophomores, everyone has a Naviance account, and they can go under advanced college search and do their own college search. And then we can help meet with them, the counselors, we can all meet with them and talk about what are your reaches or challenge schools. That means like schools that GPA is a little bit above what your GPA is. So that would be a challenge school. Possibles are the middles, we call it. So those GPAs would be the ones that meet your college, what you're looking at. You have that GPA. And then likelies, or I call them safety schools, are schools that are a little bit below your GPA, but you'd go to if you had to, worst case scenario. So that's what we mean. And the counselors can meet with you and talk to the students about what are your reaches, what are your middles, and what are your safety schools, based on our years of experience and just knowing college admissions reps and that sort. On the next page, admissions options. Okay, so if you're going to apply early, see the first two, early decision, early action, we recommend that you meet or exceed what the college is looking for in terms of GPA, SATs, or ACTs, if that's what they're looking for, and any other criteria that they list on their website or when you talk to them at college fairs or visit them on admissions tours. So to apply early, again, you want to meet or exceed what the college is looking for. Now, if you say, well, I don't meet or exceed it, but I'm still applying early, that's fine. That's your decision. But we would recommend that you would at least meet or exceed what they're looking for. So the difference between early decision and early action is early decision is binding. That means you can only apply to one school early decision, because if you get in there, you have to go there. So that's early decision. Early action is you can apply to as many schools as you want early action. You don't have to let them know until May 1st at most schools. There is a thing called early action restricted as well that some schools put out there, and that just means you can only apply to that school early action, that's it. Regular decision, most of those deadlines start on January 1st and go on through the spring. And rolling admissions means you can apply anytime during the school year. But I recommend that most of my students should be applying by January 1st at the latest for most schools. And now on to Mr. Robertson, who's going to talk a little bit about what admissions counselors are looking for. Thank you.
Morning, everybody. How's everyone doing?
Do you need this or no?
Everyone's well. I'm still warming up from sitting at a baseball field for 2 hours. Welcome. I'm Mr. Robertson. For the junior class, my caseload is last name A through DIM, D-I-M. Sophomore class, A through DAV. If I haven't met you or you have questions, please come and see me after the presentation. Would love to talk. Tonight, I'm going to go over what our admissions counselor is looking for. Starting off with grades in the rigor of the transcript. When thinking about kind of academic rigor, this does not mean a student needs to have all A's in AP honors or honors level classes. What it does mean is that students need to find the right balance of challenging themselves academically and continually working on and practicing the skills they need to take responsibility for their own learning. In my 24 years working at WMHS, I know to be true that when students attend school regularly, complete all of their assignments, participate in class, ask questions when they arise, and utilize their resources, that they are successful. Students have recently selected their courses for next year, and I would encourage you to review these selections with them. And also, as you start, for parents of juniors, as you start visiting, you can kind of see the courses that, colleges will say courses that are recommended or for applying, making sure your students have met those course requirements or recommendations. college entrance exams. While many four-year colleges remain test optional in their admissions practices, there has definitely been an uptick in colleges returning to requiring the SAT or ACT on their college applications as we move farther away from the pandemic. If your student is interested in attending a four-year college, I would recommend taking the SATs at least once. Students can, as you take the test, sometimes, they are test takers, and we have a lot of great test takers here at WMHS, can score above the average score for schools, and then you'll want to send those. Optional means that it's optional, and sometimes that's to your advantage to send it, and you won't have scores if you don't take it. The SATs offered here on May 3rd. Students can sign up on collegeboard.org. If your family is experiencing financial hardship, please contact your guidance counselor, as fee waivers are available. The deadline to sign up for the May test is April 18th. I would strongly encourage your student to sign up ASAP, as test centers do fill up before those deadlines. So you want to do that as soon as possible. An SAT equivalent, the ACT, is also used by the overwhelming majority of colleges as a college entrance exam. More information, a number of neighboring communities offer the ACT as a test center site. We are not one, but I know Melrose and Stoneham are. More information can be found at act.org. If your student has an IEP or 504 plan and utilizes extended time as an accommodation on assessments, they are entitled to extended time on the SATs or ACTs. There is an application that needs to be submitted to the College Board to apply for this. Completing this application is another action item to complete ASAP if your student has not already done so. You can contact your student's guidance counselor for further details on applying for extended time. Resume and activities. Guidance counselors worked with students in the junior class last fall and will be working with students in the sophomore class this spring on building a resume. We have a resume builder within our Navient software program, and these resumes, students can build, then update, and they're saved in Navient for them to use and export when needed. Once a teacher, as Ms. Healy referenced, we recently met with the junior class and started encouraging them to ask for teacher recommendations. Once a teacher accepts a student's request to write a letter, it is standard practice for students to supply the teacher with a resume or activity sheet. This list of co-curricular activities will also be required when a student applies to college. The resume students build can also be used when applying for part-time jobs to help offset all of these costs in applying to college. Letters of recommendation. We advise students to ask for two academic teachers for letters of recommendation. Our recommendation, our guidance is to ask teachers who they believe know them best. Some emphasis should be placed on when the student had the teacher. Later in high school is usually better. Additionally, if a student is applying for a program in the STEAM field, science, technology, engineering, art, and math, ideally one recommendation would be a teacher from those course areas. Same can be said for students majoring in the humanities, asking for an English or social studies teacher. At the end of the day, though, in most cases, these are not requirements, and the teachers that know your child best will write the best letters of recommendation for them. If your student has someone outside of school, for example, a coach or boss, that would add something unique to their application, then a third letter is also advised to be requested. Many colleges do not allow or limit the amount of letters that can be sent, so students can prioritize which letters to send if all their letters cannot be submitted. Next, on the college essay. Next to visiting and identifying colleges to apply to, the college essay can be the most time-intensive piece of the college application process. Some of the more highly selective colleges will require supplemental essays for students to write. These essay prompts will traditionally become available on August 1st when colleges release their applications for the upcoming school year. The overwhelming majority of colleges will require at least one college essay, and this essay topic should be captured within the 7 essay prompts the Common Application has already released for the 2025-2026 school year. These topics are easily searchable online. If you believe your students would benefit from assistance in writing their college essay, a college essay and application course is available the week of July 14th from 8 to 12 at the high school. I am probably biased as I am one of the course instructors, but 3 colleagues and I have worked with over 500 students for the past 11 years. We've offered the course, and I'm not aware of any unhappy customers. You can see me after the presentation or email me if you would like more information on the college essay and application course. Demonstrated interest. Colleges do track a student's demonstrated interest as part of the application process. This can be in the form of taking a college tour, participating in a college interview if they're offered, following the college on social media platforms, or even a follow-up email to a college admissions representative your student talks to on a campus tour or during an admission counselor's recruiting visit to our high school. We have many college admissions officers visiting our high school this spring and in the fall, and next fall. Bottom line, if your student is interested in a particular college, encourage them to let that college know it. Additionally, students interested in participating in a sport or other extracurricular activity at a college or university are best served by proactively reaching out to introduce themselves, highlight accomplishments to date, and ask the club or the coach or club advisor if they would be willing or able to meet in person. Moving on to page 7, the application process. Building and organizing a balanced college list. A balanced college list can be built when using your students' academic interests and other identified preferences to create a list of colleges that match those criteria. The next step is using your students' GPA to date in college's recent admissions data to identify statistical reaches, realistic, or safety schools. Online tools, including Naviance, the College Board website, and college individual websites, can help when creating this list. This is also a process that the college admissions experience possessed by each member of our department can be invaluable in helping your student create a balanced list. Just to emphasize this, I find students that come and proactively make meetings with us and help kind of hone in on their interests, and usually can become have the best success in feeling that they have a list that really meets what they're looking for. April vacation coming up, we recommend as a rule of thumb students visiting even a school in a city, a large school, and a smaller school, maybe in a camp on an enclosed campus, just to get a feel of what type of environment would be best for them. Open, complete, and submit online applications. Example, the Common App. Does everybody know what the Common App is? No? See some shaking of hands. So the Common App is a list of about 400, exceeding 400 schools now that have decided it does not make sense for Brian Robertson to write his name, address, and fill in everything 14 different times. So you can have one application that can be sent to all schools. That Common App is, we'll talk a little bit about what the Common Application undergoes updates every August 1st to make some tweaks to it. But in the last few years, we've seen those tweaks have been pretty small. Also, in the past few years, it's nice the Common Application allows students now in the spring of their junior year to create a username and password and start actually filling out the Common App. We do a little of that in our college essay course, and that information will transfer over August 1st when the Common Application updates for the new school year. The application itself, whether it's, if schools are not a member of the Common Application, they will have their own application, which will be found on their website. Much of the information needed will be the same. excuse me. The application, the common application or any application, most applications itself should only take an hour or two to fill out. This is a task we encourage students to work on before they return in their senior year to get much of that done. August can be kind of a golden time before band camp or fall activities start, when colleges update their applications to, fill out the Common App, check on supplemental essays, and kind of make a spreadsheet with a timeline of what they need to do to hit the ground running in the fall. Students will be, another note, will be accumulating a lot of passwords, including a Common App password. As best practice, I would encourage students to put those in a secure place. Get a password app on your phone is a good lifesaver for high school applications and beyond, or to make sure you warehouse those passwords so you know them if in case you the auto set on your computer fails you. Additional pieces of the application process: completing the college essay we've talked about, and submitting college entrance exams, signing a FERPA release and matching Common App and Naviance accounts, generating links to teachers to upload letters of recommendation in Naviance. Just to touch on all those here, the guidance department will provide instructions and assist when needed as students complete these steps. We just met with students in large groups. We'll be meeting with them individually, members of the junior class. This spring, we'll be meeting with the senior class again in small groups right at the beginning of the school year, and then individual meetings as we go. So plenty of time, and each of us have Google Classrooms where we've uploaded instructions and information on how to do these things that we're discussing. The college essay will be embedded within a student's application. Test scores will need to be sent through the College Board website. So those will be, the application, the guidance counselor, we will be responsible for submitting a student's transcript and recommendations through Naviance. The student will be responsible for submitting test scores themselves through the College Board website or ACT website. And they'll also be responsible for submitting their application, whether it's through the Common App or the school's own application. This year I found a few students that kind of forgot the piece of submitting their SAT scores when required and then kind of scrambled at the end. So it's knowing that those need to be submitted by the student. Guidance counselors, when we will discuss these steps in more depth when our individual meetings I just alluded to. So we're here and going to walk through this process with you and your student every step of the way. Add schools to monitor colleges I'm applying to list in Naviance and submitting the transcript request form. The process of adding schools and then sometimes unadding them will be ongoing. I still have students coming and saying, now that we're kind of checking admissions decisions for our class of 2025, well, actually didn't apply to school X, Y, or Z. That's fine. The risk, the major thing that we enforce and try to reinforce with our students is that if you apply and don't tell us, we don't have an automatic way to know that you ended up applying to a school. So you want to err on the safe side. Let us know every school that you think you possibly might be applying to, and then if you end up not applying, you can let us know so we can take that off for tracking. Transcript, we actually have a written transcript request form that will be completed in the fall of a student's senior year when they finalize their college application list. So we actually have in writing from the student that they are applying to this school. So just to keep that for a double check. Invariably, changes to students' lists are made and colleges are added right up until the final day applications are due. As I said, the key is to communication with your guidance counselor. So we make sure that we meet all deadlines in a timely manner and don't miss any colleges along the way. Applying for financial aid. This year, the federal application for financial aid, more commonly known as the FAFSA, opened on December 1st. This year was my first time filling out the FAFSA. I was pleasantly surprised to see how straightforward it seemed to go. The parents of current juniors, and this is common sense, but definitely submit your taxes. Your 2024 tax return will be automatically pulled into your FAFSA form, and it goes a long way in streamlining the process. The FAFSA has information pop-up tools and with info that answer a lot of questions that typically come in this process. I mean, you can save it. I know I jumped on it opened up a few days before December 1st this year, and jumped on and just kind of went through everything and just saw what I needed, and went back and a couple times before completing the form. Some people have specific situations that might be a little bit unique to them. If you have questions and you want to even kind of just inform yourself ahead of time about the FAFSA form, I strongly recommend the Massachusetts Educational Financial Authority, MEFA, their website, which can be a great resource, and there's people there that will talk to you and work with you if you have certain financial circumstances you need some assistance documenting. Page 8, the responsibilities of the guidance counselor. Kind of bundle these, and we along the way in working with your students, we complete a secondary school counselor report form. We write every student a personalized letter of recommendation. We compile the transcripts and letters of recommendation for your students and submit them, as I previously discussed. We submit these materials directly to colleges, and we're available as a resource for students and families throughout the process. Over my 24 years as a school counselor, and in completing my first time through this process as a parent, the best approach I've found in navigating the process of identifying and applying to colleges and other post-high school options is to communicate regularly at home with your school counselor. Set up a plan where your student creates a checklist and then breaks up the requirements we have been reviewing tonight into smaller steps, and be open and proactive in addressing questions and concerns as they arise. I am personally a big fan of having a meeting with students and parents on my caseload to ensure everyone is on the same page. It's also important to remember that while some students are ready to dive into this work in the spring of their junior year or earlier, many students are not ready yet, and that is okay. We are here to meet students and families where they are at and support you in whatever ways you need going forward. To conclude, partner with it. We're here when willing partners to partner with you in this process. The more information we know about your students' hopes, fears, progress, or lack thereof within this process, the better partners we can be in supporting your student. Next, I'll be passing it over to Mrs. Leahy for the next part of the presentation.
All right, I know that the student responsibilities slide looks a little hefty compared to the guidance counselor one, but we are partnering with students in that process, so a lot of those responsibilities end up becoming shared. But I get to talk about the most exciting part of the process, which is the fact that your choice to attend college, or your student's choice to attend college, is a significant financial decision. The average cost to attend a private nonprofit college in the US is $50,900 per year. So talking about that large number as a family early is an important part of the process. To make this expense more feasible, students and families can apply for financial aid and scholarships. There are a lot of acronyms and terms that I think sometimes we talk about as though it's common sense when really it's not. So if there's anything anyone has questions about, you can of course ask, but I'm gonna go over a few of what those acronyms are. So the FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid. It determines eligibility for federal aid, which can be up to $5,500 a year in loans, and if you're eligible, up to about $7,395 in grants, in addition to work-study opportunities, which would mean that your student is more likely to be selected for a work-study job opportunity should they apply for it when they get to campus, and then have the chance to earn up to a certain amount of money. The application in a year where it's not being revamped would typically open in October. So pay careful attention in the early fall to some of those opening opportunities for applications for aid. This is a separate part of the application process. So if you're on Common App submitting your applications, you're not automatically going to be considered for financial aid. There is an additional application, the FAFSA being one, for you to complete. It will also ask for your prior tax information. So you'll be applying for the 2026-2027 school year if you are a class of 2026 Wakefield Memorial High School member, which means your 2024 tax information will be what this is based on. The CSS profile, CSS stands for College Scholarship Service. It's another application, which is not free. So the FAFSA is free, the CSS profile is not. It's utilized by colleges and universities to get a fuller picture of your family's need. Often colleges that require the CSS profile are using that information to consider how they're going to distribute their own institutional grants and other need-based scholarships. So many private colleges and universities will use the CSS profile in addition to the information that they gather from the FAFSA. And then every year, seniors who apply to college successfully will finish that task, put that off their plates, and then scurry down to the guidance office just to say, okay, I'm ready to apply for scholarships, which is awesome, but we are not, sadly, sitting around like waiting for you to ask for that $40,000 scholarship, and now that you've asked, here it is. I wish that were the case. But really, these scholarship opportunities are available year-round, meaning that you could do some of that research now to determine what scholarships you might be eligible for, your student might be eligible for, and then organize a timeline for yourself so that you're not missing October deadlines of scholarship applications or waiting around till April and realizing that there are still more to come. The reality is that only a small portion of the total cost of attendance can ultimately be covered by outside scholarships. And some of those outside scholarships may even impact eligibility for other institutional grants. So it's a question worth asking when you're visiting these universities, how some of those private outside scholarships might then impact your, their assessment of your need. And then on average, I think this is helpful to keep in mind. Outside scholarships typically cover just 1% to 3% of the cost of attendance. So I think sometimes students feel like, I haven't applied to enough, I can't believe I didn't earn $20,000 worth of scholarships to help offset that big $50,000 number we just talked about. But the reality is that it's just a small portion, and still that can make a big difference for families. So our advice when it comes to the scholarship process would be to start local and within your own network. So your places of employment, religious communities, sports commitments, things like that. And then layer in some of those larger regional, even national, international scholarships, which can sometimes feel a little sweepstakesy because hundreds and thousands of people are applying and maybe there's just 3 selected. All of that information is going to be available, or is actually already available to you on our guidance website, but there are also scholarship search engines that you can utilize to look for those larger, bigger than our local community resources. I'll leave you with at least this. If you live in Wakefield, Mass, and you're gonna attend school in any form, whether it's a trade school or college full-time, then you're eligible for at least one scholarship, and that is the Scholarship Foundation of Wakefield. It's a need-based scholarship, so not everyone is going to qualify, but nearly 80% of applicants who apply each year earn a grant between $1,000 or $5,000, and you can apply every single year that you're enrolled full-time, even if you're going back to grad school. So you've heard a lot of information tonight, and Ms. Quinton and I have been tasked with going over the timeline, which is gonna feel a lot like a review of the information that you've already heard. But hopefully, again, I think the more times you hear this information, the better, and if you've missed something in your note-taking, this will sort of solidify those action-oriented steps. Perfect, thank you. And also this past month, our group of counselors went over this timeline with the class of 2026, so our current juniors. We highlighted some pretty major takeaways, two, in my opinion, being one, to make a plan and or register for those college entrance exams, and two, to ask to academic teachers for recommendations before the end of the school year. So I told my students, if you were gonna listen to nothing else that I said, make sure you hear those two items, that you should be going home and thinking about what is my plan for college entrance exams and who am I gonna ask for recommendations. Your student's counselor will already be writing them a recommendation on top of those two asks, so that's worth noting. They're also time sensitive in that you should really be completing those tasks in your junior spring. And if your students are thinking, okay, I remember that they said I have two things to do, I'm just not sure how to do it, that's when setting up time with your counselor would be key. And then still important, but maybe a little bit less time intensive, or time sensitive, I should say, are some of these following action steps. So one, continuing research or starting research by visiting colleges, whether online or in person, especially over breaks. And I would say keep in mind that an academic quad on Wednesday at 9:50 a.m. during April break looks different than that same time in the summer. Next, I would say getting organized in terms of where you're gonna keep track of that list. And I would also say that that list that you're maintaining, where you ultimately are applying, if you're gonna assign a 1 to 10 rating to each school, that ultimate list should be a 5 or above for each of those schools. Even the schools that your child is thinking, your student or you as a student are thinking, it's not my top choice, that's more my likely just in case school, it's still important to be able to envision yourself at some level being able to attend. You also want to review your senior year course requests to ensure that they're aligned with your college plans and future goals. And as Mr. Robertson said, as you're doing your research, there may be things you learn about recommended courses that might impact what your student has selected. And so if that's the case, make sure, again, you're in communication with your counselor about those things. And then speaking of future goals, there are some unique pathways that require additional planning and legwork, such as if you're going to be pursuing athletics at the collegiate level or auditioning for theater or music related programs. So if this is you, I would say it's worth connecting with your guidance counselor as soon as possible and making that a priority task for spring of junior year so that you're not scrambling come senior fall. And then lastly, as Mr. Robertson mentioned, the Common App is available for you to make an account now. You just want to be mindful that not everything is going to roll over. So if you're going to create something and fill out anything on a college's specific application, that will be wiped clean come August 1st. But the main page of Common App, that's available for you to poke around at. And I think it can be helpful for students to at least familiarize themselves with the app, in part because many of the required questions are pretty quick. It's that essay requirement, supplemental essays, and the detailing of your activity section that can be time consuming, but worth looking at so that you can know what to expect and maybe reduce some of that stress a bit. And then I get to turn it over to Ms. Quinton for summer and fall of senior year.
All right, so into the summer. As everyone else has already pointed out, I am repeating a lot of what was already talked about, but the summer is really a key time. So the more you can accomplish over the summer, the less stressful the entire process will be. Checking off those items is really helpful in gaining momentum and making sure that you are prepared for walking into senior year, ready to not only be on the right foot with your college applications, but also able to actually enjoy some of the activities that are going to be coming up as soon as you get back into school. Also, as you heard, a lot of the application deadlines, if you are applying early, can be as early as October. So as soon as you get back into the school year, it's possible that you'll have applications due right away. So again, the more you can get done over the summer, the easier and more prepared you'll be for those really early applications. As a reminder, every college has a different set of application requirements and criteria. I think students get really maybe annoyed with hearing me say that repeatedly, but it is so true that colleges do have different requirements. So the best way to keep track of that, there are different tools out there. Like we mentioned, Naviance is a good place to start. But there are apps, and College Board has a lot of different tracking devices. But if you simply Google college app tracker, college tracker app, there will be a Google sheet that comes right up for you. And it's very simple, and it's an easy way to just start tracking all of the different details and criteria that are going to be required for each individual school. So it doesn't have to be something really formal. It could just be something really simple that's going to keep you on track throughout the whole process. So we talked a bit about the personal essay, and just a reminder that that is definitely something that you could take off your plate very quickly by getting that done over the summer and not having to worry about that piece of the application once you get back in the fall. There is a lot of support out there, and I've heard great things about the essay class over the summer as well. Another thing you could be thinking about is if your student does take an SAT or ACT this spring, it's very common that they may take the test a second time. And so you could be signing up for that exam for the fall dates. The seats do fill up sometimes. Some students have had to travel to get a seat at some of the more local, they can't get a seat at the more local sites, so they do have to travel. So thinking about that ahead of time and signing up over the summer would be advisable. And again, visit, and keep a lot of really good notes while you're visiting. They seem to start blending together as you're visiting schools or visiting with reps. And the more you can take note of, not only is that going to be helpful in making those final decisions, but it can also be really helpful when you're thinking about those supplemental essays that some of the colleges require. A lot of them ask very specific questions about what makes you a good fit for their school, and the more you've been able to track with your notes from visiting, the easier it's going to be for you to respond to those questions as well. So I think we're into the fall again. You're just going to keep seeing that. Stay organized, keep trackers. That's also going to help you with really deciding which round to apply for. So you heard about the early action, early decision, regular decision, and the rolling. There are also some out there with priority deadlines, so that's something to note on your tracker. Those could be a college that might have an application deadline in January, but if you want to be eligible for scholarship application, for certain scholarships, you may have to apply early as well. So all those little things to sort of track and think about. But again, staying organized is going to really help you in deciding if which round is going to be a best option for you. I think the next part up here is just thinking about those counselor-supported tasks that Mr. Robertson went over. They seem like there are a number of them, and it might be overwhelming to see them all written down. But quite honestly, those tasks, they take a short amount of time, but they are really important. So it's not something that your student or you need to stress about, that I need to get all these tasks done. Things like signing the FERPA authorization, matching your Naviance account with Common App, updating the list that's in Naviance, and submitting those transcript request forms. They're all actually quite simple and can be done really quickly. And if your student is stuck on those, that's definitely something we can go over in a short amount of time and get them caught up very quickly with that. What is really important is that you are working with your students on that research and demonstrating interest and the actual submission of the application. Those are the steps that take a bit more time and work, and what we really need students to be super focused on. I think it is also one thing to note about those counselor-supported tasks is that even though they do take a short amount of time, it's crucial that they do complete those. So again, reach out if they need help, because we can't actually send in any of the materials unless they do those pieces. The system doesn't actually allow that to happen. So we do want to make sure that's completed. Finally, the last part there is about reviewing and submitting their application. So you do want to keep an eye on the deadlines for sure, but something to keep in mind is you really want to think ahead and have a submission date in mind that's prior to the actual college's deadline. That will save you a lot of headaches in case there's any hiccups with the technical piece of actually submitting the application. It happens. There's also been times where a student didn't notice that maybe there was an additional supplemental essay that was going to be required, and so being able to be prepared to submit in advance gives you time to make sure that you haven't missed any pieces of that specific application. You'll also notice when you go to submit that most colleges have a fee that they charge for submitting the application. So if there is any financial hardship that your family is facing, please let us know, because we may be able to find supports to help you with that as well. All right, so you did hear mentioned our website, which we have been working on updating recently. It's an ongoing process, but there's a lot of new information up there if you haven't seen it recently, just in the last week. We took a lot of the information that was already in the Google Classrooms that students had access to, but families did not, and we put that on the website, so now all of you will have access to that instead of just relying on the students, which is not always the best course of action. So a few things in there. There's a section of frequently requested documents. So there's the teacher recommendation request forms, there's activity sheets. There is a guide through the application process. I definitely want to highlight the post-secondary planning guide. There's like a resume template in there. There's different pieces of information for other things other than college. So recommendations for applying to the military, and glossaries of terms. As you've heard, there's a lot of new terms out there that we really only use for college applications. So there's quite a bit in there. There's a bunch of, timelines that can be really helpful for different grade levels. There's also folders with links to videos, tutorials, articles. There's pre-college programming information, essay writing tips, the scholarship search engines that you heard about. There's an entire list in there with recommended search engines for you. And we're also working on having our Instagram page put up there, which will have information about upcoming events. There's a few different college fairs going on. That information will be posted there. There's a calendar down the bottom that has a list of all the representatives that visit our school that students are welcome to sign up to meet with when they come to our school, and testing information and things like that too. But it's a lot of information, and if you can't find what you're looking for, please reach out to us. We really do want to support you through the process and help with whatever we can. And I think you're up next.
All right, so just to finish up, I want to review some dates. I know, again, we've gone through some things more than once. That's not a bad thing. This is going to be shared with everybody, so feel free to write all these things down, or you can wait for the slideshow to come out, and we will. You'll be able to see all these dates as well, because I know there are a lot. So coming up, and we just mentioned this before, the May 3rd SAT. The deadline to register is April 18th, so that's kind of only a couple weeks away. So if you haven't registered for the SAT and you plan on taking it, or the child's going to take it, recommend do that as soon as possible. The June 7th SAT, that deadline is May 22nd to register for that. And on May 8th, there is a financial aid webinar. Mr. Robertson mentioned MIFA. That website itself is amazing for any kind of financial aid information that you're looking for. So MIFA has a lot of webinars throughout the year, all different kind of topics. But there's one specifically financial aid webinar on May 8th that I highly recommend to see if you can join that. Sometimes they have recordings too. If you can't make the actual event, just sign up for it, and then they'll send those people who at least registered for it, whether they made it or not, they can send a copy, typically. They also have a college planning webinar that's on May 14th, and the others are the dates, the SAT dates. The Common App, we've mentioned that a couple of times, how it rolls over on August 1st. And we've already talked about this too, but financial aid applications typically open in October and November when you start finding out results from, I'm sorry, not results, deadlines. Popular ones are November 1st and 15th. So our office is a little out of control the end of October, mid-November, where a lot of the typical deadlines come up at the same time. So that's why if you follow this timeline and kind of start now and slowly work your way through between now and November, you won't be as stressed out come October 31st, November 1st. Let's see, January 1st and the 15th are regular decision deadlines. So that's another kind of a push for kids getting their applications in. So that kind of covers those dates. SAT dates, they're anticipated. I don't see them changing. They put it on as anticipated, maybe because they just don't want to officially commit to it, but these dates most likely will not change. The SATs will be August 23rd, September 13th, October 4th, and November 8th. All right, so a lot of dates to remember, but we will make sure we get this out to you. The next slide, one of the last ones we have, where to go next. Again, we just covered this. The guidance website is a huge resource, especially in the last couple of weeks. As Ms. Quint mentioned, we're really updating where you can get like a one-stop shop of everything you'd want to know. So I highly recommend to keep your eyes on that. Your student's Naviance account is where they do their college searches, the career searches, the surveys. So hopefully you'll be able to see things that they're interested in, things that the surveys have told them career-wise. But also when you get into this stage here, the college applications, you can see all information you want on all the colleges that they're looking at. And then we've also mentioned a few times collegeboard.com, and there's a couple other sites, studentaid.gov and collegedata.com, just a couple of the resources that we've known have been pretty reputable and recommended from other people. So that's pretty much it. And so this has been a lot of information at once. Thank you for the counselors, all the information you provide. They're an amazing team, so if you haven't had a child go through the process yet, you will see shortly that you are in very good hands. They mean it when they say the communication piece. We see parents and students going by all day, my office to their offices, so do not hesitate to reach out to them whenever you need it. And I do like to finish with one quote that I need to read myself 15 times for my own daughter, is to think about is that research demonstrates that ultimate success in life will be determined by your child and not by the institution from which he or she receives a diploma. So in the midst of all of this, and it gets pretty stressful and everybody gets set on that certain college, and if they get in, they're great. If not, the world ends. It's not about that, right? There's more than one college out there that your child can be extremely happy and successful at. There's definitely more than one out there. It's what you make of it. It may sound cliche, but if your child makes the most of whatever they are, that's what's going to make the difference. So try to keep that in mind as you're going through the 85 million things we just talked about tonight. So that is the end of our presentation. We do want to leave a few minutes if you do have some questions. I think the best way, because you need the microphone, would you be able to, when you answer, just repeat the question real quick? And does that work? And I'll just kind of take turns, pass it around. Okay. So do they have any questions tonight?
Question is, do parents have access to their own Naviance accounts? Yes, there are student Naviance accounts and parent Naviance accounts, but the parents have to request that parent account. And all of the application oriented tasks have to be initiated through that student account. But parents can utilize it for that world of work and college research piece. So yes, you can have a parent account created. Just reach out to our office. Go for it. question is, when does data from the current class, so class of 2025, get updated into our Naviance system? I'm going to turn that over to Mr. Robinson. I'm not sure of the date.
Which day as far as?
Like, are you thinking maybe scattergrams, which on Naviance, there's a feature that students are often attracted to where they can scroll over and see what the GPA and SAT or ACT scores were and whether or not that person was admitted or rejected or waitlisted at any individual school. So September, October, so fall, new data will be reflected in your students' Naviance system. And I always like to say that the scattergrams, while like so appealing to many students, it is a healthy reminder that your GPA and SAT or ACT scores are just one factor and not the end-all be-all, meaning that you might have a perfect GPA and perfect SAT score and still not get in over someone who had less than you did in some other way. So it's a reminder of the holistic nature of a lot of these application processes. Because you have to be on the
All right. Who's next? No, great question. So the question being, ACTs where they, at now, while it started out as kind of a test in the Midwest, it is universal. I think just about every college you can be either or. So for students, especially students applying to highly selective colleges, I would recommend taking both tests. We find some students can score better on one or the other. The SAT slants a little bit more like an IQ test. ACT slants a little bit more like an achievement-based test. The ACT does have a science section, so I think it's a good practice to take to each one, especially if you're looking at some of those schools that many of our students do look at. Well, I'll start with the PSATs and back into it, and if anyone wants to chime in, please do. But yeah, sorry. So the question is the best way to prepare for the SATs? Is it taking the PSATs? Is it an SAT prep test? What are best ways for preparation? So starting with the PSATs, which students got their results in December, January, members of the sophomore or junior class, that comes with some great data. The College Board is partnered with Khan Academy. There's a code on your testing sheet where you can go and get, see the answers, see what students, identify what they got wrong, what areas they were stronger in, and use that as a catalyst to kind of prepare for the SAT. There are additional resources on the College Board website that are free. There are test preparation centers, Kaplan, Princeton Review, that do offer review classes. So it depends on, your student, their level of interest. There's also test books, online where you can take preparation, courses. I think tests for any student having test familiarity, knowing how the test is laid out, how the questions go, when it might be strategic to leave a question blank. Those are things that are, can help, lead to, a more successful testing experience. I think many of our students take the test as, I think Mrs. Leahy referred to, twice. A lot of data says that if you take it more than twice, the score really doesn't vacillate that much. Colleges will super score, which is take, a higher, highest result if you scored higher in the English, say in May, and the math in October, and put those scores together. I don't know if that kind of hopefully around the way answered your question, but there are resources out there, and contact us if you're interested in more specific ones. All right, next question, right here.
Good question. So we do put the sophomores on Naviance. We're actually going to be meeting with the sophomores next week. Is it next week? Yeah, the week after. We're going to have them do the resume. I think they're the resume, right, for them? Or is it? Oh, no, career interest profiler, maybe. Yes. Yes, freshman year, sorry. So we put them on. It's a school system that we can put them on, and then you can have access to. Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, they didn't tell you. Yep. Typical, right? Yes. That's a good question because we see. Oh, I'm sorry. How do you find your students' GPA on Power School? Because we can see it on our end. Do you know? Yeah. It's, yeah. Right. So you wanted to see it now? Is that what your question was? The GPA now? Or are you waiting? You talking about the end of the? Because you don't know the GPA. Yeah. So at the end of each school year, you can see the GPA on Power School. Yes, at the end of each school year. Is that, yeah, the end of each school year. Is that the question? No, it. Yes. Sorry, I misunderstood. Yeah.
You have to request the transcript to see the GPA. It's not in Power School.
Well,
and it's only
it's for us. Yeah.
It's only updated at the end of a year when credits are awarded.
Yes.
So if you were to ask for a GPA now, and you're in the class of 2026, it's your freshman and sophomore year GPA.
Yes, it's a weighted GPA. Right. And we can actually see it on Power School ourselves. We can see it on our end. That's what I meant, yeah. Yes, that would be, yeah, that would be a good idea. You would request, yeah. Yeah, request the transcript, yep, at the end of the school year. Yep. Yeah, you could always ask the counselor too, because like I said, we can see it on Power School. We have access to the GPA. So you can always ask the counselor too, what's my student's son or daughter's GPA, because we can see it on our end. They will be, yes. Yep, at the end of the school year, they can see it. Yeah. PSAT. Right. Through College Board. Oh, the PSAT. You were wondering about the PSAT? Yes. Yes. Yeah, and
The PSAT, you would have had to register your student for. It's a Saturday in October. So sophomores and juniors can take it in that Saturday, October date. And then in their College Board account, because the PSAT is a College Board assessment, all of that data is available through your student's account. So it's a personal email that your student has with the College Board. And you may need to reset that password. Because no one ever
any other questions? Yes.
Another clarifying question, please, on Naviance. As a
What is in it from the parent account? I've never seen a parent account. You can see all that, okay. So the question is more about what the parents can see within the Naviance account. And so there are different sections about different careers and career pathways and the majors you might take in for a certain career. There's information about how much money you can make in a career, anything to do with different career research and college research as well. Do they have access to the college search? Yes. Yeah, so there are 2 college searches within Naviance, and you can utilize those too. And so you can put in the different criteria that we've talked about tonight that your student might be interested in or leaning towards, and it can come up with some a college list for you to review. So there's a lot of different details about world of work and college research. Yeah. So the question I think is, do families, do they fill out forms for their student to provide information for a letter of recommendation? We don't have that. I'm certainly willing to talk to any parent that wants to share more information. The more I know, the more helpful that can be. So yeah, I'm happy to take, and I'm sure we all are happy to take more information. That's fine, but we don't have a specific form for that. Yeah, I have heard of that as well. Yep. I see another question. Mm-hmm. Yeah, very common question. Thank you. So the question is about how do you find more information about the specifics of your financial aid process and application. And so I would say that we're not financial advisors, and you're right, every family is very different and there are nuances. I think that MIFA has been talked about a lot tonight, and that's a resource that I've gone to quite a bit as well. They do have, in addition to the general webinars and the articles that they have and things like that, that you can sign up to meet with a financial aid advisor through MIFA for one-on-one support as well. So when you go to their website, that will be one of the options that you can look into. I think that's probably the best bet. Also, FAFSA has a really great help section. So when you're talking about different types of families and different, custodial parent and all of that, they do have a great help site that really breaks it down that might be supportive for you. Yeah. MIFA? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Mr. Is the essay writing course in the summer open to just Wakefield students? And it is not. It is open to others.
Should we get an email about that?
What's that? Come see me after the
For 2 weeks summers from now.
What's that?
I said we don't talk now.
Good point.
All right, it's right about on schedule where we like to be. So thank you all so much for coming tonight. I hope you found this helpful. I know it's a lot of information, but it's all important information to have. And so again, just take things one step at a time and you'll be fine. I wish you the best of luck. And if you have any questions, you can come see us, or later on, anytime, just email the counselor and they can set up a time to meet with you as well. So thank you again for coming. Have a great night.